How does building your portfolio look? Stay tuned. Welcome to this week's edition of Note School TV, where every week we bring you the most amazing guests as well as the most amazing content. And this week is going to be no different. So thanks for being with us today. Few things I want you to do for me, or ask you to do for me, if you will. Number one, make sure and like this episode. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you have not already done so. Subscribes to Note Schools TV's YouTube channel so you can watch all of the past episodes, probably about 170 of those by now. And then make sure and hit that bell notification so that you will be connected with us when we go live every Wednesday at 11:05 Central Time. Also, continue to send us your comments and your questions. Those really help us out. So if you could send us those, that would be perfect. And then if you would like to know more about what we do at Note School, simply go to noteschool.com/TV. Again, noteschool.com/TV. With that, I want to bring on, the founder of Note School. Our chief visionary officer and all-around good guy, Mr. Eddie Speed.
Good morning, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm actually doing really good.
Good. Had a good morning so far and all that?
Yeah, just we feel like a lot of really positive things about the industry, in our direction. And I'm very excited about this year, and just every day we're seeing that it's really it's going to happen at a very excitable rate this year.
Absolutely. So Eddie, we've got an interesting news story this morning. I've got two slides here, so I'm going to go ahead and bring those up, and let's talk about real estate pain for U.S. regional banks is piling up, says investors. So, yep, Eddie, this is New York Community Bank, which is the latest in the scare, right? But nearly 1,900 banks with assets less than $100 billion had commercial real estate loans outstanding greater than 300% of their equity.
Yeah, Joe, we've seen lots of news reports about the banking situation. We know that there's a shocking number of loans that the banks have that have now been being labeled as problematic. We know there's a shocking number of loans that have maturities, and we know that the banks are frequently coming back to people and saying, look, you've got to come in here and reduce your loan balance by 20% because we wouldn't make this loan anymore. And for us to renew it, you're going to have to. So there's been a lot of capital calls, particularly on multifamily deals.
Yeah.
And Joe, I just want to tell you this: a guy that he's somebody you frequently quote, and always in a positive way. But you and him ain't saying the same thing on this. And that was Chairman Powell was on 60 Minutes a couple of weeks ago, and he said there ain't no problem with the banks.
No problem at all. Well, only 1,900 out of 4,200 or something.
He said there was just a few little banks that would fall into some kind of a merger situation. It's kind of what he said.
Well, here's the source from TREP, Eddie. We love TREP. These are commercial real estate loans in regional banks. And I know that's small there at the bottom, but it says a level of 300% or higher may indicate a lender is exposed to significant risk of commercial real estate concentration. And that's the FDIC as reported by TREP. So, yeah, look at that.
Well, we've known there. Let's just say this, guys. There's been a lot of smoke around here, and every evidence that we've seen says that there's fire under that smoke.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think this is just kind of more of the same. We know that our guest today has dealt with commercial banks, and he's a good customer and has good bankers. But the pressure of banks has been an ongoing subject. We see it every day with people liquidating loans because their bank is saying they need to clean up their balance sheet, and the client needs to clean up their balance sheet. So it's kind of more of the same. The commercial real estate thing is a ongoing chapter. And if I tell you, I'll say this to you guys. The gold standard in commercial real estate is TREP, right? If you want to know what Wall Street level players are watching and pay attention to, they pay attention and respect TREP. So rather than reading something that maybe the promoter is putting out there,
right,
go do your own research and read TREP, TREPP, right? Yep. And we quote them a lot because we know that they are considered the gold standard. So there you go.
Well, Eddie, that is the news for the week. We have a great guest today, and I'm going to drop off, let you come on and let you and him talk a little bit, and then I'll come back on at the end. So we'll see you in a minute.
All right. Well, I have the good fortune of watching this movie unfold with this gentleman. I watched him from his earlier days in getting involved in the business and then watched him now today be one of the most successful operators in the business. He runs a super impressive operation. This is a guy that I have two things to say before I introduce him. First of all, I completely, totally respect his integrity in the business. And secondly, I completely and totally respect this guy's a rainmaker. He is a deal maker. He can make it happen. You guys welcome from San Antonio, Texas, Mr. Mike Powell.
Excellent. Thank you for having me, Eddie. Look forward to chopping it up with you.
Well, how are things in San Antonio?
Good. We're having a good year. We had a decent year last year, a little bit of an adjustment with the market turn, but for what we do, it's been a good adjustment and we're rolling. How about you guys?
Well, you heard me say, I think before we brought you on, we really feel like 2024 is a monumental year. Whether the banks fail or don't fail, whether interest rates stay up or go down, the inventory that is going to be released this year is already slated, right? It's already like, I already know where the inventory's at. They are a result of interest rates. They are a result of the pressures of the banks. But I'm certain that inventory is already on the chopping block to get moved. And so I'm pretty fired up about that. Let me tell you these guys just a little bit, Mike, about you guys' situation. Many of you know Mike's partner, and that is my long friend, Mitch Stephen. So we laugh and say that Mitch is a note cowboy on Facebook, right, Mike?
That's right.
Everybody on Facebook knows Mitch, and he's out there, and he says, "Do you like my Paisley shirt?" or whatever and stuff. Mitch is quite an operator, built quite a business. But Mike, you came in about a dozen years ago and became partners with Mitch.
Yeah, I came in like 12 years ago, and Mitch was at a point in his life where he was tired of running the show and was willing to hand the reins over to somebody else. And he fully did that. He still is in the operation on the day-to-day, supplying money and a lot of knowledge, doing it for as long as he has. We're constantly using his knowledge. And Mitch is one of the most creative people I've ever met in my life, whether it's writing books or figuring out deals. So he's still heavily involved on that side, but he lets me run the operation.
So when Mitch refers on Facebook of we do this or we do 300 deals a year or whatever, you're really the guy back there driving the machine that's making that happen.
Correct.
And we look there with the two of us, there's the highest level of respect in Mitch, and I knew him back from the very, very beginnings and stuff. But when I'm talking to you now, I'm talking about a guy that's running a shop that's doing about 300 deals a year, and you have your hand on the pulse of the market.
Correct.
And by the way, guys, we opened this up with Joe saying building your portfolio, because Mike, a lot of people that want to go do this business are not going to build a portfolio that like you guys have built.
Yeah, and I've learned that over the years. I deal with some other really big guys, kind of like we are. They hundreds of deals a year, or 25 million a year in notes, that kind of thing. And most of them don't build the same type of portfolio. A lot of people sell most of their assets and keep that wheel turning.
Well, and you own a loan. You guys own a loan servicing shop, right?
Yes.
So you service loans for people that don't have hundreds of loans. Maybe they have 5, or maybe they have 20. Right.
Our average person is 2 to 5.
2 to 5.
Yeah. There's not a lot of guys that are real big, but there's really no difference in 2 and 20.
Yeah. Well, so you guys own a servicing shop in San Antonio, Moat Loan Servicing, correct?
Moat Note Servicing.
No. Okay. Got it. Moat Note Servicing. We'll put their information in the link. Make sure people have that. I want to talk a little bit about the differences, Mike, in what a really big operator does, like you guys, and what a small operator does, and things that are not the same, and the things that are almost exactly the same.
Perfect. Let's start with what's exactly the same.
Yeah.
The big thing I've noticed with anybody who wants a portfolio, especially a note portfolio, compared to any other kind of, and we have both. We've got some rentals, mostly commercial. We've got a few residential rentals that we bought packages of properties or something. And they kind of came with it. But so we've done all of the above. But I think everybody who's doing a note portfolio is all looking for the same thing. They're looking for a push button asset where you leave it and forget it. They're not looking for a daily phone call about a toilet or this or that or the other thing, or, taxes went up, or how are we going to recover this, or the roof is going bad, we're going to have to refinance, that kind of stuff. People in the note field are looking for more of a push button asset. You set it and forget it.
All right. So let's get specific with the audience, Mike, and because I want to do a kind of a comparison here, right? What is the average price property you own or finance?
For us, our average is between anymore 150 and 220. 220 is getting a little bit on the high side.
Okay, so let's just call it a $200,000 house. Okay, and you're gonna own or finance it. That $200,000 house, what would it rent for?
$200,000 house would probably rent for about $1,800 a month.
Okay, so it's not just taxes and insurance, but if you look at a rental over time, it's generally believed by the most seasoned people out there that about 50% of the rental income goes to expenses over a long period of time.
I'd agree with that.
So you're going to net $900, right? You rent it for $1,800. You air conditioner, they move out, they got to redo it, taxes and insurance, and this expense and that. So you're really going to keep about half that money. You're going to net $900. Mike, if you own or finance that house, and just really easy math, you own or finance that house and you get a good down payment of say 10% or 15% down, right? So you get a pretty good check when you sell it, right? But then you sell it at what are really more like non-qualified mortgage rates, which are a little higher than conventional rates. That's probably a 9% loan today, Mike.
Yeah, we're right now we're between 9 and 11, depending on the asset.
Okay, so you're getting a check of $2,400 a month.
On that specific house, the P&I would be $1,579, so $1,580 a month would be P&I on that house.
And that's with how much down?
With $20,000 down to $180,000 note.
Okay, so you got $20,000 down. You carried a note for $1,600 a month. Mike, how much of that payment do you keep?
We keep it right around $500 to $600 of it, because we've got underlying debt on it.
No, just assume that you sold for cash either way.
Okay, I keep 100% of it.
Oh, so you keep $1,600 a month.
Exactly.
Now I say, Mike, that people can own 1,000 notes for the same labor factor as having 100 rentals. Is that ridiculous?
Yeah, I think it is, because we've got several hundred and I've got 3 rentals, and those 3 rentals are more, and I'm not joking, they're more of a headache. I've already gotten 2 calls this morning about rentals, and I only own 3. So,
and you own thousands of notes.
Yes. So I think that it's ridiculous to say it's 100 rentals. You should have that at about 20.
Yeah. So what we're really doing here is we're talking about, as you said, a push button investment. We're talking about what the life of that really means. Like why you and I like notes, and people, the argument, Mike. Well, if I sell my rental, then I'm not going to get appreciation. And you and I would argue, no, you're getting the appreciation just up front. You're not having to wait for it.
Exactly. And you lose that depreciation in vacancy and repairs.
Yeah.
I don't, I've gone round and round with tons of rental guys about this, and anymore insurance has gotten just astronomical. And
crazy,
so
isn't it?
the insurance stuff is just killing my rental friends big time. A lot of them have doubled or tripled their insurance in the last 14 months.
Well, it's kind of funny, Mike. This is true both in the multifamily sector and as well as just the single family sector. We had this big argument when inflation started happening and rents started going up, and all the guys, I call them the Facebook, armchair investors, right? They're all on Facebook with some hot sports opinion. Whoops, did I say that? And so there, everybody was saying, "Oh, I told you rentals are going to be the thing in inflation." And you and I were going, no. What we saw is that rents went up about 25% and expenses went up about 65%. So the rent increase didn't pace with expenses.
I agree with that 100%. And we base a lot of our owner financing off of rents. We don't necessarily match rents because people will pay a little bit more sometimes to own, or it might come out that it's a little bit less than rents in the area, that kind of thing. But we do track rents pretty closely because we function off of them. And we have not seen the uptick I thought we would have seen over the last couple of years.
Well, now rents are subsiding. We on our Note School TV once a month, Mike, as you know, we do a market update, and usually we'll pick something. It could be the Black Knight report. So this past month we did this Harvard report on rental property. So they had like 60 pages. It's like pretty elaborate report they did, and we kind of summarized some of that. And what we really saw is that rents are now coming down to about where they were at the virus. So let me ask you a question, Mike. While the rents are coming down, how's those expenses doing?
Yeah, they're not coming down. You're not going to see materials. Materials haven't come down hardly at all. We thought that they would come down, PVC, all that kind of stuff. That has not come down like we thought it would. We're still seeing, and then labor is really high. Labor is really, really high now. It used to be we could repair any house for 20. Now it's any house for 50 over the last 5 years. It has really gotten expensive. So you're not going to see all those expenses come down at all.
Well, and we were sort of teasing about Powell being on 60 Minutes the other night, and they were talking about expenses, right? And that expenses are not subsiding. Inflation generally, whatever it got to, we're not going the other direction with it. And these are all things that say, Mike, I believe this is where I really want to lead our conversation to. I believe that we're now in a note cycle versus a rental cycle. And I want to get some of your thoughts about that.
I 100% agree. We're having our biggest quarter we've ever had in the 12 years I've done this. We are buying and selling like crazy. We're creating more notes than we've ever created in the first quarter of a year. Usually the second quarter is a little bit bigger quarter for us, but we've doubled what we did last quarter. The first quarter of 2023, we've already doubled it, and we're halfway exactly halfway through February.
So why do you think that is, Mike?
One is we can be very competitive with rents. And so anytime that deals are getting easier to come by because the banks aren't lending, people aren't wanting to borrow, standard people aren't wanting to borrow at certain prices. So deals have become much, much easier for us to find. So
you're not competing with landlords.
We're not competing with landlords. We're not competing with flippers. We're able to go buy a lot of what we used to buy very easily.
Because they've run out of money sources, or the math isn't working in their model.
A lot of it's the math's not working because, instead of being 15 days on the market where anybody could flip a house, we're back to 120 days on the market, or 180 or more is a standard.
Yeah. Yeah, man, when things got crazy during the virus, you guys completely kind of switched out of what you had done for a long time because people were just overpaying, right?
Correct. Yeah, we weren't able to create near as many notes as we had in the past. And so we had to go to more of a turning it model and flipping it and wholesaling it and stuff like that, which is not really what we were built to do, but it's what the market was calling for at the time.
Well, so what do you see, like the other people you service loans for? What are they seeing?
A lot of them are seeing still the status quo. We're not seeing a lot of delinquents. We check. That's something we keep an eye on very closely. Our delinquents have not skyrocketed like I thought they would. I thought they'd have been a little bit higher over the last 12 months. When it costs you $500 every time you go to the grocery store, you figured you'd start to see a little bit of that. But the old saying of they're an owner is really showing itself. So delinquents have not gone up like we thought they would.
So people's money is tighter, but they're honoring their debts.
They're honoring their debts. And I think part of it is they know, a lot of them bought a lot of that stuff right before 2020 when everything skyrocketed. They can't get into anything cheaper, period.
Yeah.
So they'd better hold on.
Yeah. So you guys service loans for yourself. You had such an operation, it made sense for you just to really build your own standalone servicing company. You service some loans for my wife and a lot of my friends. So I know that you guys are very active doing it. Like, what happens when I want to have a loan service? What's that look like?
So you submit a loan to us. We get it all set up with the borrower and the lender. Everything goes out. And then for the lender, he does not have to get involved again until he's delinquent enough there's a foreclosure. Besides that, it's all push button automatic. You log in online if you want to check on your accounts, that kind of thing. But there's really not a reason, if you have a good servicer, there's not a reason you should be super involved.
So a few years ago, when you knew me even less than you do now, I gave you kind of an old man wisdom statement. And I made a statement to you. I want to talk about that statement because you mentioned it to me the other day. And that is, I said, Mike, there's two kinds of people that have seller finance notes. There's people that own a portfolio and there's people that own a business. I want you to talk about what that actually means.
So when you said that to me and you said, do you want to have a business and a job or do you want to own a portfolio? And that's something that's followed me for the last 12 years. I think that Eddie told me that the first time we ever met. And what that means is, do you want to have a portfolio that pays and runs itself like what we've built? Or did we want a job where we were just slapping people in houses with low down payments and hounding them and pushing them? And you're pretty much just back in the landlord thing if you're chasing payments. So as you build a portfolio, do it strategically and do it in a way where your intention is to have a portfolio, not a job.
That's great. So how do you do that? Like, you understand the concept is if you don't do quality business, then it's likely to be problematic. The buyer isn't sticky, so to speak. So how did you make those strategic changes in your operation?
Discipline's the biggest thing. We're extremely disciplined on who our borrowers are and very disciplined on assets. It does that. The assets can get you suckered in. Let me go buy all these, and not picking on anybody individually, but let me go buy all these land notes in some part of Utah that nobody goes to, but I can buy them all for $4,000 a piece and the return is 33%. The problem is it's not a 33% return because it never comes back.
Exactly.
So we had the same thing here. There's a lot of areas you don't want to necessarily own certain notes in. So we're very disciplined on our assets we purchase. We want good assets. We're okay with mobile homes and land and stuff like that. But once again, we want good assets. We're not doing bottom of the barrel assets. If you do bottom of the barrel assets, you'll have a job. Then
I tell you, Mike, every beginner that thinks they're going to jump out there and do seller financing, they start out with cheapo stuff and they think they're buying a bargain, but they find out it's not a bargain, right?
Exactly. And I was a victim of that too. I was buying a house around here for 15, 17 grand. I thought I had it made. And then I realized I was in the wrong neighborhood.
Yeah.
So we really watch our assets. The next thing is our borrowers. We're very, very careful on our borrowers. We will let a house sit vacant before we put the wrong person in it.
Yeah.
Because that will cost you big time.
Well, if you look at how tight conventional lending is, right? This mortgage credit availability and all these indexes that say to get a conventional home loan today, you got to be almost perfect, right? It's not hard to be right next to that in seller finance versus way over here and you're financing people that are bottom of the barrel.
Yeah. As things got tighter over the last 2 years, we've definitely seen our borrowers get better. And the same thing happened to us back in 2011, 12. We had a certain kind of borrower, and then as things loosened up, our borrowers didn't get worse, but they didn't look the same. You can still get good borrowers that don't bank qualify, but they definitely look different than they did 2 years ago.
So the quality of seller financing, you believe today, is better than some other cycles that you've seen?
Yeah, absolutely. And the funny thing is, there's definitely not as much cash running around as there was 2 years ago. Obviously, like we talked about. So our down payments aren't as big, but our quality is still really good because we're getting a lot of these people that could potentially have bank financing at some point.
Right. Mike, you have a wealth of information. You have as good as stats and as good at record keeping in the note business as anybody literally I know. I mean, you run it tight, right? I'm so impressed.
Appreciate
But I want to go back and leave this audience with a little bit of, they don't have to go run the size business that you have to be able to end up with a portfolio.
No, not at all. To me, a portfolio is anywhere, anything 5 and up is you're starting to get into the portfolio. And if you set it up with the correct people, as far as the correct servicing company, the correct attorney, all these things on your team, if you set it all up from the beginning, running a portfolio, running 5 and running 50 is really not a whole lot of difference. A little bit of time, but not much difference if you have the correct team set up going forward and the correct systems in place.
So guys, here's 2 things that you can do, right? First of all, you could take your existing rentals and owner finance them. The second thing you could do is you could just buy notes like me, and you never have to be in the house buying business, right? And those are 2 different things. So Mike manufactures their own notes. For the most part, Mike buys a property and turns it into an owner finance note, right? Well, you may be in that situation with an existing rental. But then you could also do the business and have a portfolio where you do it like we do, which is we buy somebody else's notes. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't use somebody like Mike's servicing company to go service the loans and do all that kind of stuff. So I can own a portfolio on the product, taking the real estate that I own and turning it into a note, or I could just buy somebody else's note. And you have those customers too, right, Mike?
Absolutely. And we've started buying, over the last 2 years, we bought several notes recently because, there is some really good deals to be had on buying them, and it's much faster than creating. So we've actually been buying as much as we can lately.
Yeah. Well,
we do service both.
It's a trend in the market. And so we have a lot of people, the biggest thing, Mike, that we see with people, a lot of people, as you know, because you've seen our audience, they're like professional people. They're doctors and high-end realtors and stuff like that, but they're busy, right? And they don't want to go build another business. What they really want is a strategy to have a portfolio, not a business they have to go do all the work in. right? So they're looking for an investment strategy, right?
Right. And it's totally doable if you know, when we're buying notes, we let the file tell the story. Is it a story we like or a story we don't like? If it's a story you like, then we've never been hurt by one we bought. I've been ecstatic with how it goes buying it, because there is so much information to be able to decide on what's the correct one for you.
That's excellent. All right, Joe.
Yes, sir.
Nice to have a legitimate industry expert here with us today. I mean, when you listen to Mike's responses and you think about how much experience stands behind each one of these responses, that's pretty cool, right, Joe?
It really is. And Mike, you guys have taken it, guiding this ship now, have taken it and made it. You're vertically integrated, as they say now, right? From the machine to the rehab to servicing notes. And by the way, that's MOAT note servicing, Moat servicing, and we'll get a link in here as well. Mike, you're killing it, dude.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we're having fun doing it too.
Yeah. Well,
there's no better business, and truly anybody can do it. I taught a 23-year-old kid how to do it, and he's already got a portfolio with a couple $100,000 worth of notes. I mean, he's killing it at 23 years old. So it's really a fun business once you get rolling with it.
That's great.
It is, for sure. So, guys, that is it for this week. If you'd like to know more about what we do at Note School, simply go to noteschool.com/TV. noteschool.com/TV. We'd love to have you in one of our 2-hour master classes done by none other than Mr. Eddie Speed and Mr. Max Keller, who is our Chief Market Officer. And you'll enjoy it. You'll see more is what we do at Note School, and we'd love to have you. Simply, again, go to noteschool.com/TV. That's it. We'll see you next week. Same place, same time. Have a good week.